I have a question to you. How would you recognize a professional speaker? It's very easy. He had no time to fix his beard. Yes, this man has been to how many? 3, 4 countries for the last 24 hours, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Now, here is an amazing speaker. A very good friend of mine comes from the most amazing city in the world called Barcelona. I really love being there. Been so many times, and I really wish you go to his conference as well. DevBCN, it's so good. And on this talk, you will find out, will you be fired soon, or you will still have a chance to work a little bit, because we are talking about AI, of course. Yes, wonderful. Please warm welcome our good friend, Jonathan Vila.
Thank you, thank you. So hopefully I will say it correctly. Dobro utro. I think that with this first slide, if you pay enough attention, maybe you can just spend 3 seconds, get the information, and leave the room. That's it. This is the whole presentation. You see a happy developer working with a robot, AI, so nice, but there's a devil showing up from the back of the laptop, right? Let's see if I can convince you about the good and the bad from AI. I usually start my presentations with numbers, trying to impact your brain and making you a bit more aware of the presentation. Let's talk about 200 billion. And you need to guess which is the right answer. It can be the text messages sent globally per year, or Bulgaria's GDP in 2024, or videos about vibe coding, or lines of code produced by AI. So who says it's the A? Oh, nice. B? Good. C? And D? That was an easy one, right? Well, surprisingly enough, text messages are 55 trillion. It's Bulgaria's GDP in 2024. And it's not the number of videos about vibe coding yet. But yes, it is the number of lines of code produced by AI. I'm Jonathan Vila, and I'm coming from Barcelona. And we are famous by creating human castles, having buildings being built for ages, like Sagrada Familia. Also for beaches. Who has been in Barcelona? Great. And also for having technology events like Mobile World Congress or DevBCN, that is the conference that I run in Barcelona next July. But we are also famous for other things. Having Bulgarian football players. And for other things that let me enjoy this moment while it lasts. Who dares to say that it is a fan from Real Madrid? And the rest are the fans from Barca, I assume. No? There is no one? Ah, come on. OK. I'm also Java champion since 2020. And I'm one of the leaders of the Barcelona Java community and co-founder of JBCN Conf that now is rebranded to DevBCN. I've been working in a lot of languages. I'm a bit old. I started more than 30 years coding and having a salary from it, using Pascal, C, and Go, and Java lately. One of the languages that I love the most, by the way, is Delphi. Anybody has used Delphi? Perfect. I thought it was dead. But apparently what it was dead was the developer, because I received a job opportunity 2 months ago. So I assumed that somebody died or got retired. But nowadays, I'm working as a developer advocate for Sonar since, 2 years ago, a bit more. If you want to know more, just this is the QR. I will share the QR for the slides at the end, so don't worry about taking pictures. Well, you can take pictures of me if you want, but who knows who is Sonar? OK, for the rest, Sonar is the company that, apart from paying my bills, is also having 3 products, Sonar Cube in 3 different flavors. Sonar Cube IDE, that it is the one free for everyone in most of the IDEs that is going to analyze more than 35 languages at the same time. Definitely, I encourage you to use any linter. If it's Sonar Cube, better, but if not, just use a linter. Also, Sonar Cube Server, that it's also free. You can do Docker run, and you can run it locally. And Sonar Cube Cloud, that it is in our machines, that it's also free for open source projects and private projects under 50,000 lines of code. So if you have private projects in your company, definitely try Sonar Cube Cloud because it's free. Well, if you want to know more about Sonar or just simply share with me your pains using Sonar Cube, I will be here during the day. We are also introducing AI code fixes. So now, for some of the issues, Sonar can suggest the solution using AI. And because we recently bought a company, we are going to release a version soon that it is doing SCA, detecting vulnerabilities in dependencies, and also creating SBOMs. So this is the agenda for today. Well, first, we'll talk about AI in the whole software development lifecycle. And I've divided into these 6 points. That is, understanding the task, so just before coding. Code creation, this is the most common one, but also deployment. So whenever we have to deploy our application somewhere, we need to create the famous YAML files. Testing, how can AI can help us during the testing process? Also with code reviews. And finally, we will talk about quality. For me, it's the most important part, because apparently nowadays, few people only focus on the quality produced by AI. So AI in the life cycle, AI is only a tool, nothing else. It can be a superpower per programmer because it can help you in order to understand things, or even suggest new things of doing, of fixing an issue or implementing a feature. But it can impact the whole life cycle. From the very beginning, when PO is creating the requirements document, they are going to use Gemini or ChatGPT for creating a lot of stuff. So it impacts from the beginning up to the end. And I always suggest to use AI for a starter, to create POCs, to create boilerplate code, but not to create the core base of your application. And it also can help you in order to distill, so to get information from different code bases and documentations. And it adds uncertainty. It's not deterministic. So it's going to introduce issues, wrong answers, poor solutions, and even runtime or compilation errors. So which are the different things that we can use AI in the whole life cycle? For planning, we're going to get information from forums, surveys, issues, and with that, we can get, OK, which is the most requested feature, for instance. And with this, we can go to design which are the features that we want. Again, we have a lot of information from patterns, prototypes, specifications, and it will distill all of this information in order to be faster in order to design the feature that we want. With coding, we are going to obviously generate code. refactor code, definitely, you should. It's super important also to use the explain. I found that one of the best features from AI. It's to explain parts of code, to distill information from different points. We will see how in a moment. And also, it will help you to document your features or your pull requests or your commits. Testing, again, it will get information from different sources, and it will generate the tests. We will talk about testing later. Super dangerous. With deployment, again, it can get information from several sources and generate those artifacts that we are going to use to deploy our applications. Again, it's a scary part. And it can interact with our platform. So we are creating our YAML files, and wow, yes, I can't remember which are the labels that we put for all the pods. OK, it can interact with the cluster. I will show you how. And it can get the labels from whatever pod you have running, and then it will add it to the deployment files that you have. And with maintenance, again, you can get information from logs, metrics, traces, distill all of this information, and then it would be easier to create, let's say, answers or implement features. It can also forecast. If it's dangerous creating, you can imagine how dangerous it can be forecasting. But it can be to forecast behavior of your application. It's up to you what you do with it. Too many things that AI can do. Don't do them all at the same time. Just start doing one by one, and you will experience how the AI is working for you. So I will summarize into distill and generate, basically. So to get information from several sources, and then generate suggestions, not more than suggestions. And super important, we need to have quality, security, and correctness in our mind during the full process. It's important. Do not believe, do not trust on what AI is giving you. It's interesting, it's nice, it helps, but don't trust blindly. So AI, basically, we can use different models. There are few of them that we can use with Copilot, for instance, or any other assistant. But there are more than 1,600,000 models out there. Hugging Face. These are open source models. You can download them. You can run them locally. Probably you don't need to use GPT-4. For some tasks, maybe you could use Qwen 2.5, and it's going to give you a very good answer. And you don't need to go to the cloud in order to get the answer. So this is important, considering which is the model that you are going to use. The context, every time that you ask something to the AI, the context is super important. Usually, time ago, it was only about the open files. But now it can be the entire code base of the project. But you could add a lot of things into the context. Web page, the test files, using tools with MCP. Now we have hundreds of tools that we can use. Again, you should consider that when you use a tool, you are sending information to someone, somewhere. So be careful with what you send. But with tools I will show you later, we can do a lot of things to complement our AI assistant. Basically, we are going to use, in this distill feature, to summarize information from different sources. AI will use the models, RAG, if you have company information that you have added to the context for the AI, and also tools with MCP that can connect to other sources or even can execute actions. Some of them have price, and some of them are free, depending on if you are hosting them locally. So, understanding tasks. Basically, what we have is a lot of documents, issues that are not well defined, and also going into legacy code. So the usual approach is to read a lot, do diagrams, whoever does diagrams, and asking questions to a lot of people. But there are other ways. We can add docs to the context in order to, well, to ask for clarification, and also to break the problem into smaller pieces that we will implement into our features. Basically, an agent is what it will do. It will execute several parts. It would break it down and execute different parts and not the whole prompt. So if we are using an agentic IDE, in this case is VS Code. Most of the examples are VS Code. What we have is our prompt, the reasoning, if we are using the agent mode. Then we will have interaction, because this agent mode can execute commands in the terminal, can touch files, can do a lot of things. And usually, the first times, it will ask for permission to do it. So we have interaction. And then, in this case, we will have the solution suggested by the AI. If you pay attention, you see that there is a fetch in the prompt. And what it is doing is, hey, get this URL, that is the URL for a GitHub issue, and explain me the issue. So it will connect to the website, it will get information, and it will explain it to me, and it will implement the changes for me. With tools, it's very easy to install them. We just simply go to Awesome MCP Servers website. We'll find lots of them. And we add the lines in order to connect to the tool. Usually, it's a Docker execution, and it's very easy. In this case, we have the GitHub MCP server configured. So I can get issues. I can even add issues to the GitHub repository. I can touch the repository. I can do a lot of things. Well, the AI can do a lot of things. And in this case, I'm not using the fetch tool. Now I'm getting the get issue tool. It will get the information from the issue, from GitHub, and it will do the modifications. As you can see, it's even running the tests in order to modify the code. And if the test is not passing, it will modify the test. And in some cases, it will modify the code if it finds a bug. So again, using the agentic or the agent mode with tools, it's going to be helpful. In the code creation, yeah, you could be one of them. I've never been one. With code creation, we have several ways of interacting with the assistant. Basically, inline prompts. So we are going to do Command I, and we'll introduce something that we want that the assistant do. With comments, but I totally not recommend using comments. With inline chat, you have a conversation with the assistant. With comments, is way more difficult. And you still have the comments there. You need to go there and remove them. So I would totally suggest not to use comments and use inline prompts, or using the chat. The chat, it's also it's richer in order to create a conversation and suggesting changes. And again, the context, we need to add to the prompt the context that we want to use for our interaction. There is also one important point, is to guide the assistant. So if I ask the assistant, create me, I don't know, a method that iterates a collection of integers and give me the average number. What it does is to use a loop sometimes. But it doesn't use the Java 16 collector sting that exactly does that. So what we need to do is to create a Copilot instructions in this case, and Copilot will use this to send this information as a system message. And then we can say, hey, use the Java latest features, the Java 21 features, or Quarkus best practices, or JUnit 5 or JUnit 4. You can specify lots of things that the assistant will take into the conversation in order to suggest best things. Different IDEs like JetBrains have different files, but they also support this. In order for selecting the model, well, you need to choose or select and try different ones in order to see which is the best result. But Hugging Face has what they call the big models leaderboard, where there are lots of models rated in terms of code generation, depending on the language. So the best one for Java in this case is Qwen 2.5. So we can just download this model, use Olama, for instance, and then we can have a local agentic assistant. In order to have local agentic assistant, I haven't found any way easy to do it with Copilot. But there is a plugin called Continue. With Continue, you can select models, local models using Olama. And then, depending on the model, you can also use the agentic mode. And they also support MCP tools. And it's open source. So definitely, it's worth to try. And then what we can do is to have everything local, and we don't go anywhere, just to ask our questions. Again, it should not write your core. You should ask boilerplate code or easy code that you can understand. It's super important. And if you come back tomorrow, you will still understand what it is doing. It will give you time to do other things. It's the point, not to solve problems. It's to give you time, basically. And you always have to review the code, because guess what? When you do git blame, never says Copilot. It is your name, what it is in the git blame. So definitely, it's important to consider that it's you who is going to suffer the fight with the rest of the team. Also, security. Sometimes Copilot is not giving you the best approach. It's not considering the best. It's not considering security or updated libraries. So it's important that you review that in order to check for security issues. With testing, it's interesting because we know that testing is important, right? Well, only 2, 3? Who thinks testing is important? Come on. Okay, so it's important. So why we are giving the task to AI to create the tests in some cases? Who creates the test with AI? Okay. It's easy. It's fast, right? It will help you in this time-consuming task that it is creating the tests. So what we do is we go to our method and says, hey, Copilot, create the test for me. And Copilot creates several tests, even corner cases, edge cases. Awesome. That's fine. But it's super critical because it will give you the false feeling of confidence. And guess what? When Copilot is creating a test, what it is testing? The business need or the code? So what it is doing is testing the code, even the bug. So if you have a bug in your code, Copilot will create a test that effectively tests that bug happens. But that's not what you want. It can help you in order to create boilerplate, to save you time. This is what AI is for. It can create incorrect, incomplete, useless, assertions. And with poor quality, as the rest of the code. So it will help you. It will give you time, but it won't give you confidence. This is the summary of the talk. It will give you time, not confidence. And sometimes it can also over-rely on mocking, and you have 10,000 mocks for a simple, stupid test. So do not blindly trust AI-generated tests. For instance, in this method, it's a method that calculates your tax. So you give the method your salary, it will calculate the tax, and this country is giving a deduction. I don't know if it happens in Bulgaria, not in Spain. So in this country, they give deductions. But apparently it is not checking if the method is returning a negative number. So you have a salary of 1,000, you have a 20% tax, and there's a deduction of 1,000. Great. The government will give you 800. So the method has a bug. But we have a test for it. It tests that if you give a small number, you will get a negative number. Perfect. Everything green. Deploy. Especially on a Friday afternoon. Deploy and run. So again, it's up to you to check which are the use cases, the corner cases, and to check if the test is doing what you are expecting. For that, you can also use static analysis tools in order to test your tests. They also have rules for best practices, for frameworks. For instance, well, Sonar, as an example, has several rules in order to check for test methods. So it will check that you are doing things correctly. So run also static analysis tools in your test classes. Deployment. Wow, this is a bit scary, right? Because the problem is that when we ship our code, it's involved a lot of YAML files. Who loves YAML? It was you and you. OK, perfect. I knew there was someone, so now I know who it is. OK, so you use Docker files or Kubernetes, Terraform, well, whatever, infrastructure as code, in order to define your DevOps pipeline, right? But it's easy to sleep them credentials. It was yesterday or the day before. I gave a talk about infrastructure as code quality in Germany. And I was talking about that. How many issues we don't think it could happen that there are in the public repositories out there. A lot of credentials are coded in the deployment files, secrets. There's a lot, using the Sonar telemetry. So it's a real issue. Check tomorrow your projects, or maybe not, wait for Monday. So with AI Assistant, in this case, for the deployment, this is K9. It's a command line tool in order to connect to your cluster. I have a local cluster using kind. And what I want is to create a YAML file considering the files that I have in the cluster already running. So in this case, what I prompt is create a Kubernetes file that deploys this application, well, that changes this YAML file, considering another one using the labels and concatenate the label. Well, I don't know exactly which is the value of this, more than testing or more than to show you the tool. But let's imagine that this is an amazing and super important feature. With this pods get that you can see here, I'm using the Kubernetes MCP tool server in order to connect to my cluster, get the pods, check the labels, and what Copilot does is to create that file. So it is, the black part is what we saw down with K9, and then it gets this value and modifies, or creates a file doing this. So I used natural language in order to tell Copilot to do something, and it connects to, in this case, Kubernetes, gets the information, it knows which files to touch, creates a file, that's it. Then I need to review it, obviously. But it helps a lot to use MCP servers, especially if you control where the information is going or in which country those MCP tools are running. But also, it can help you in order to create a specific variables and arguments for your Java applications. So you need to tweak the memory for those pods. You need to send JDK or JVM arguments. So it's important that you use AI, again, to save you time, but you put the criteria, you put the experience, and it will help you with that. Also, with the JavaOps environment variable, again, you can just tell the assistant, hey, use the correct JavaOps for an application this size. And the assistant will get the variables and the arguments and will do the modifications for you. And also the liveness and readiness probes that usually we miss them. So again, you can have all of this information in the Copilot instructions file that I just showed you at the beginning, saying always when you create a Kubernetes file, consider the JavaOps, consider the memory arguments, and consider the liveness and readiness probes. And then when it creates a file for this, it will add this information to the file. So add the right context, and the AI will give you a more interesting answer. But review those files again. Security is crucial. You can sleep credentials. Insecure defaults, or just opening the network for anyone just because it's easier to test, and then one day, that POC that we all agreed it was a POC and would never leave the team, now I see the application in production. Oops. So sometimes these things happen. I assume that nobody on purpose hard codes credentials. So what I think is we start with POCs, with ideas, we test them, we run them, we do it super fast in 1 week. But then life, the stars, make those POCs to work and deploy themselves in production. Again, check best practices, but it's hard to have the best practices for everything. Again, guide the assistant in order to follow best practices on everything. Test thoroughly. With deployment files, you can do unit tests. You can do dry runs. You can use local stack. Who uses local stack? Local stack is amazing. I used it in a project when I was working for Red Hat. We were testing 8 layers with different things. And every time that a commit was, well, a pull request was started, it was starting all those Docker containers with all the layers and everything, and checking everything. And the same versions are in as in production. So test with different methods. There is something called Azurite emulator that also emulates the system, and then it allows you to test all your files. And important, understand what you are putting. It's not only related to AI, but it's the same as for Stack Overflow-driven development. So don't just copy, paste, understand what you are doing. So, well, manual review is important, but again, tooling. Use infrastructure as code scanners. There are several. SonarQube is one of them, but there are others. And then it will give you confidence before you submit your changes to the pull request. That's also important. I always say that IDEs are like Las Vegas. Who has been in Las Vegas? You know that what happens in Las Vegas? You know now. You remember things that you won't tell. Okay, so what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. So what happens in your IDE stays in your IDE. So you use the tools right from the beginning in your IDE, and then the pull request comments would be easy, kind, warm, and about psychology or philosophy, not about specific, simple issues that you could have solved having a linter. Code reviews, talking about code reviews. So usually, code reviews are time-consuming. It involves a lot of cognitive load because, hey, you are a reviewer for a pull request, and it's like, I don't have a clue what it is this going on. So I don't know what this issue is doing or this code is doing. So it involves a lot of effort. You, in this case, you're lacking of context because I don't know. I was focused on another thing, so context switching is also affecting this. But you can miss issues because you are focused reviewing other things, or the person that has submitted the pull request is missing issues. Sometimes, well, this was very frustrating for me. You create a pull request with several files. You think you did, wow, this is magic, what I've done. And then one says, this variable has only 3 letters. It should have 5. And it's, come on. This is the first comment that you was thinking about. Well, sometimes it's about naming, spaces, I don't know, silly things. And it will also imply that you submit your pull request, and then you need to wait for comments, and wait for approval or rejection. It can create team friction. In my case, it has created team friction. Not everyone has studied psychology in order to give comments or feedback. And sometimes it's like, come on, you could have said things in a different way, or maybe there are other realities and not only yours. Subjectivity, So with AI, what we can do is to mitigate time consumption, high cognitive load, and lack of context. Again, AI saves you time. It doesn't give you confidence. So it will create PR summaries, considering the changes, and also if you give more context, it will connect to those contexts too. It will explain small changes in a pull request. I don't know why this is how it is. And it can even suggest better approaches. So it's not that you need to go and read all the Java 21 or 23 features in order to suggest new implementations. You can ask the assistant. But you need deterministic tools in order to check issues and enforce best practices. Don't rely on AI. It's not deterministic. It happened to me that I asked Copilot, because at Sonar we were creating Spring Framework rules. And there was a rule I was not sure. So before asking to the team, hey, you should change it, I said, I will ask Copilot. Copilot, I think this is not right. I think we could add more parameters to this method. And Copilot said, yes, of course. And Spring will inject those variables directly. And if it cannot inject those variables, then they will be null. So what I did, email to my team, hey, I don't think this rule is correct. And they said, after investigation, I think it is. So I went to Copilot again. the same conversation. Copilot, are you sure this is right? The answer was no. In fact, it's not. So this is the right situation. OK. So I said, apologies, my fault. I should have tested before. But I thought, let's take this a bit further. I went to the same conversation with Copilot. And I asked it, are you sure about this last answer? And Copilot said, oh, no, you are right. The right answer is the first one that I gave you. So never rely on what Copilot, well, AI is giving you. If you go with GitHub pull requests, now directly in the website, what you can do is, well, during in the pull request web, you have 3 dots. And you can give personal instructions to the assistant that it will take into consideration whenever it is suggesting or reviewing. Again, here you can tell the assistant, check code quality, use Quarkus and BAD in best practices. In this case, use latest Java version features if possible, and even give the information in Bulgarian. I don't know. Just because it's easy for you to understand the comments from Copilot in Bulgarian, or I don't know, in whatever other language that you prefer. So you can tweak the way Copilot is behaving during the pull request. For this, I've seen a lot of pull requests without a description or with a very poor description. You can ask Copilot in the same website, give me a summary of this, and it will give you a detailed description of what the pull request is doing. So that's also important for summaries. You can have for each line the icon of Copilot, and then you can ask, explain me what it is doing, or explain the code from this line to this line. And it gives you a suggestion of what it is doing. So it can help you a lot in order to understand what your team colleagues have done. But also you can improve how can it be done, this method. So is this method using the latest Java 21 features? Can it be improved? I've done this in a part of the code. So it will give you the explanation why it is or it is not using the latest Java 21 features. And it will give you the code that you can copy and insert into the pull request. Again, you have with the pull request connected to a tool that it is checking and verifying. So use this pull request decoration, and you will see if your pull request is passing the checks or not. So again, it's not a replacement. It gives you time, not confidence. You need to evaluate always the answer, and it serves to do first pass checks and give you more time, but not confidence. And finally, trying to keep high quality. Let's talk about vibe coding. Who doesn't know what vibe coding is? Perfect. So Andrej created a term called vibe coding. That what it means is you use AI connected to a lot of places in order to create an application. But usually you don't refactor, you don't touch the code. It's everything done by the AI. It uses an agentic IDE, in this case Cursor, but you can use other agentic IDEs like VS Code, IntelliJ, or others, Juni. And is using models, context, and tools in order to do everything. But in summary, vibe coding is this group of guys plus magic. But the first thing is, are you going to understand what it is doing? Are you going to be able to modify it or to fix it? So the first step is, I don't understand really what it is doing. The second step is, it is failing, I don't know why. The third step is it is working, and I don't know why. And it's like, come on, I'm going home because this is not practical, and I don't, hopefully, put it in production. So there are several movements now against vibe coding. It's considered harmful in Reddit. There are people just saying, I will make a lot of money out of companies using vibe coding and not knowing how to solve the issues. This guy is charging $1,000 an hour to fix vibe code mess. So basically, don't use vibe coding. Do things with your brain and use AI in order to do those things. So because basically, it's not deterministic, lacks true understanding of the context, can hallucinate and give you false positives for everything, and will overlook vulnerabilities. And it's wrong. Sometimes it's wrong. In fact, it's wrong 51% of the time. So it's only correct 29% of the time, and partially correct on the 20% of the time. It creates issues depending on the complexity of the task. And if for a simple, very simple application, I ask Copilot, create a deployment Kubernetes file, it's a file with 6 issues. It's a very simple file, and it contains 6 issues. But you need to use static analysis because it is giving determinism to the process. So you can repeat, and every time that you ask a SAST tool, it will tell you exactly the same issues. It is specific because it's focused on specific parts of the code. Every rule has a lot of code checking for specific parts. And it will introduce, obviously, a high confidence in your pipeline. Now you have time coming from the AI and confidence coming from deterministic tools. So it will help you to learn, to have self-confidence, to create quality. It will give you speed because, again, it's not that you create something, you submit it, it fails, you modify it, it fails, you refactor, it fails. No, you will have all the information and the feedback from the beginning, and it will increase team morale because you are not submitting, let's say, super easy issues to the pull request. So you are going to have conversations about important things, and it will impact in the result, in the product that you have. Using static analysis tools from the beginning. As I said, in the IDE, these static analysis tools will check the code, and it will give you the issues. And then you will have a CI/CD pipeline connected to those tools in order to prevent that something was missed during the process. But you need to also introduce methodologies, TDD, rigorous testing, human code reviews, and pair programming. It's super important if you can include pair programming. So I'm wrapping up because it's almost time. So basically, the conclusion is that AI is not taking over the Java development. What it is giving you more time to do more interesting stuff. It's useful, yes, because I've shown you that you can use it for lots of things. For distilling documents, repetitive and boilerplate code, for predictable methods, that's easy. That's fine. But it's not magic or infallible. You cannot rely or trust blindly into what AI is generating. And critical thinking, again, is important. Human review and using deterministic tools that will help you during the process. Here you have the slides so the QR for the slides. Also, the feedback. Please give me feedback. If it's bad feedback, I will totally appreciate too. This is the first time that I'm delivering this talk, so for sure I've done several things in the bad way. You will help me. Also, if you connect to the slides, you have here the links for all the other presentations that I have. So the slides about code quality, top security issues, infrastructure as code, zero trust Kubernetes, test containers, or migrating a Spring Boot to Quarkus. That's all. Thank you very much. No gotiblatoriage. Don't go. I need a picture. Thank you.